I want you now to present the way you do with your chart. So I'm going to give it completely over to you right now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. This is a gold special. Yes, I'm wearing a gold jacket. I believe potentially we have a special golden moment in time. Very, very rarely we get these moments in history where it's a complete opportunity for generational wealth, moments where we can see huge potential, huge gains. It doesn't happen very often, only happens a few times potentially in our lifetimes, and I think we may have one right now. So I'm going early today for our closing bell. We are going to go directly into an NVIDIA, in Microsoft earnings. It's going to be a pivotal moment, I believe, for NVIDIA, a pivotal moment for me personally, and a pivotal moment for the economy altogether. I believe we have a perfect storm, a perfect moment of everything coming together all at once. So we're going to find out. Now, on today's show, it's a special. It's an NVIDIA special. I do have Sensei Crypto with me live as well with me. He will be here presenting the charts, giving us a technical perspective on NVIDIA and what we might even see tonight, perhaps potentially from Microsoft. All of that's coming up in this special. So it's an hour-long special, an NVIDIA special. We will then end this broadcast and go straight into the Microsoft earnings. Okay, so during this live special, we're going to give you the opportunity to call in, be part of the show. You can share your opinions, your views. As you can see, we're getting lots of subscribers. In fact, we're getting a subscriber every sort of 10 seconds at the moment. You don't always see it on the screen because they're not public. Only public subscribers get shown. But nearly every 10 seconds, it's gone pretty crazy when it comes to NVIDIA. So let me talk about it right now, why I think that this is so important. So if it's your very first time here, click subscribe and ring the bell, and if you wouldn't mind, tap the like button. We want to get 100 likes on this video, and then YouTube will start to share it out. I am expecting a very busy afternoon and an even busier Microsoft earnings. So let's talk about it. Why do I think that this is a golden moment? Why have I done a special? Why have I got a gold jacket on? What's going on? Well, let me explain, and I will also tell you that I put my money where my mouth is as well. This video is not designed to make money, just get subscribers. It's just to share the facts of what I'm doing with my own money, and I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm doing with my own money, and so you can see, everything is open and above board. Now and again, moments come along that can change wealth forever. NVIDIA, in my opinion, is one of those companies. Now? Why is it a golden moment? Why is it a perfect storm? Let me explain it. NVIDIA has a perfect business, a perfect balance sheet, and I'm going to show you what I mean. If we look here at the analytics, the information here based on NVIDIA. Right, the first thing is intrinsic value on this company. First of all, intrinsic value cannot make forward projections. We cannot see what's about to occur in the next earnings. I think we're about to get a big surprise on the next earnings. We'll talk about that in a moment. But overvaluation by 26%. Now, you all know I have said repeatedly, I am more than happy to pay over 25% valuation on a stock with huge growth. Well, this is like the next industrial revolution. It's the AI revolution, and this is one of the biggest businesses if not the biggest business on the planet, and the potential going forward is astronomical. We just can't measure it right now because AI hasn't yet returned its full valuation of what we paid in, the PE ratios and all the rest of it. But it's all about investment at the moment. Meta are doing it, Amazon are doing it, Google, everyone's doing it, Microsoft, we'll hear about it tonight. They're all investing for the future. We haven't had a payoff yet, and we're not going to for a couple of years. So we're all buying the future price. So to be at 26% overvaluation, in my book, is extremely undervalued if we look forward of where it's going. That's the first thing. Okay. The second thing, if we scroll down here, And we look at this. This is the perfect business. We've got a revolution, an AI revolution. Everything is going to explode, and we're going to talk about all those details in a minute. And Sensei is going to provide us with the charts from a trading perspective. If we look at the growth, what we've got is a perfect S-curve. Not only on the revenue, we've got a perfect S-curve on the revenue. Operating income, a perfect S-curve. You don't see this more than a handful of times in a lifetime. Net income on a perfect S-curve. Operating cash, financing cash flow. They've been financing, of course, that's a negative. A lot of investment being made in the business. Okay, that's regarded as a negative, but it's a forward-thinking strategy. Investing cash flow, the same thing, up 46%. That's a negative, but it's a positive going forward. Look at operating cash flow, completely off the scale, up 44%. Now, we're going to come on in a moment why I'm saying this is a moment like no other, and I will explain it in detail in a minute, and Sensei will call in and give you all the charts to trade it as well if you wish to do so. And I will share with you my position. Assets, 77.1 billion, of which nearly half of that is cash, 31.4 billion. Now, I've often said I don't like when businesses just simply hold cash all the time, because when interest rates go down, you don't make much money on your cash. Of course, interest rates are about to go down, and that will affect their business. It won't make so much money. But in this case, they're building their business out at such a rate, they've just got so much cash sitting around from profits. That's a different story. So I'm okay with that. Look at the liabilities, 27.9 billion. Long-term debt is 8.5 billion. 8.5 billion. And if we look at the cash, they've got 31 billion in cash. So they could wipe out their debt if they wanted to tomorrow without any issue at all. Now, these margins are insane. If you compare this to other AI companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, these are insane margins, extremely good. They compare extremely well to anything you compare it to. 75% gross margin, 60% operating margin, net margin 53%, FCF margin 49%. ROCE, 99%, a huge S-curve there. And if you don't know what ROCE is, it's a return of capital employed. Very, very important number that. That really tells you the health of the business. It's a return on the capital. In other words, the capital, the money they started with, they've got 99%. It's a perfect score. You can't get better than this. 120% return on invested capital. So money they've taken and invested it, they've got 120% return. ROA, return on assets, 72%, and ROE, which is return on equity, 120%. All right, let's move on down a minute. You can see that the free cash flow analysis is just going off the charts. It's absolutely crazy. You've got a perfect fundamental score here. It doesn't get better. 97% profitability. There is no one on planet Earth who has a number higher than that. 97% profitability score. It's the highest profitability score I've ever seen. Now we've got a solvency score, 82%. Doesn't get any higher. I think I've seen actually 85%, but they can wipe out their debts tomorrow. And now Wall Street targets only give it a 31% on average as an upside, but remember, they cannot forecast what is around the corner. They can look a little bit ahead, but they cannot see the full projection of this, because just like Meta, when we had that massive drop, no one could see it, they dumped the stock. Look where we are today, and look where we're going. NVIDIA, 99%, and by the end of the year. Remember I just said in this video, is it a 2x? There it is. The stock can double by the end of the year. And that is on a conservative side by the end of this year. Now then, I'm going to come on to why I think it's a perfect storm in a moment. We've got no short interest at all. Look, there's no downward pressure, 1.1%, no downward pressure whatsoever. Right, now then, before I bring Sensei in to talk about the charts and so on and so forth, because tonight we've got the Microsoft earnings. Now, I've called this video, will NVIDIA 2X? Yes, it will. Incredible to say it, but I believe it will. Crash for now. We've had a bit of a crash. If we look over the last month, we're down 13%. By most standards, that would be regarded as a crash. However, when you look at the overall picture, if we go back and look at five years, we're up 2,300%. But it's it's about $1 trillion we've lost in the last month or so. It's nothing to be sneezed at. Over the last 3 months, though, we're up 20%, but we've dipped a lot. Now, I'm calling this a golden event, a golden opportunity. Why I'm wearing a gold jacket? Because I believe it's a perfect storm. I believe everything has come together at the right moment. What we've got at the moment is huge amounts of stock manipulation. Not necessarily intended. It's not always with malice. It's not necessarily people are trying to stuff it to the retail investor. Very often people say what we've got is we've got Wall Street trying to, hedge funds trying to stuff it to people. We often hear about cult followings like Omar, who will say the retail investor gets stuffed over by the hedge funds. There's no negativity like that going on. No one's sitting in a boardroom going, let's stuff it to the small man, the retail investor. That isn't what's happening. What we do have, when I talk about manipulation, we do have hedge funds and we do have institutions and we have large investors who try to manipulate the market, not in an aggressive, nasty way, but in a way to benefit themselves. People are ultimately selfish, and that's just human behavior. And what we've got now is all over the markets, and I'm studying this 12 hours a day. I live and breathe this stuff. We have got a rotation. You may have heard it be talked about over the last couple of weeks, typically last 7 to 10 days. We're coming up to the sort of 2 weeks period now. I believe it's about to end, and I believe it could end tonight. And the reason why I say this is everyone's talking about a rotation because we know as much as we can know, and we're about to get rate cuts. We'll know tomorrow from Fed Jerome Powell. We will know between the lines. He won't say I'm cutting rates tomorrow. No one believes that at all. That would be a shock to the system. That would not be good. That would be a reaction. That would be catching up. He's not going to do that. He's also not going to say I'm cutting rates in September. That's not how the Fed works. We are also in an election season. So you've got all of that stuff brewing in the background as well. Perfect storm is building up. We'll get rate cuts in September. And what that means is, and why we had a rotation, is everyone took their money out of the large caps because they said, wow, we've had this massive run. It can't go on forever. Let's take some money off the top and let's put it in the small caps. That, in my opinion, was a huge mistake. Now, anybody saying, well, I've made money on the small caps, I don't care. I don't buy rubbish. I don't buy crap. I'm not interested in finding the lowest common denominator. It may mean I have to have patience and discipline, but I'm okay with that. I like hard work. I like discipline. I like a challenge. There's nothing clever about dumping quality stocks, quality businesses, moving into the Russell and buying a load of rubbish. There's a lot of stocks in there that are rubbish, very, very small caps. There are some good businesses and there are some those that aren't so good, but everyone's benefiting from everything because everyone's buying the index, okay? Now, at some point, people are going to take their profits and go, what do we do now? You're not going to hold your money in a company that's now overbought, overinflated with nowhere to go. So what are you going to do? You're going to want to get back in again. Now, I think what's going to happen is the money is going to come flooding straight back in. NVIDIA is going to double. Tom Lee, who I've listened to for years from Funstrat, says that we're going to get a 3x of the S&P by the end of the decade. Now, typically, we double every 7 years. He is saying that we're going to get a 3x of the S&P. Imagine that, by the end of the decade. That's only 6 years, when normally we'd only double. A 3x? These numbers are insane. Now, I don't know about that, but I do know that NVIDIA, even though it's incredibly expensive, or it seems to be expensive right now, and we've had a massive rally, I don't think it has even started with where we are going. Now, there is a big debate, AI, right? We've had a debate on the show. I've asked myself, right, where does anybody get any money out of me as an individual person, as an investor, as a user of technology? Does anyone get any money out of me? And the answer is No, I use the free version of ChatGPT. I wouldn't subscribe to it. I'm not that bothered. I wouldn't pay a premium. A lot of the services are for free. So it's not about whether the retail investor, the small man on the street, is going to use it. When we buy the new iPhone, a few weeks later, because it's being delayed, we're going to get AI built in. It's going to be free. It's going to be part of your services, right? So it may not be we're all just rushing out and paying for AI, but it'll be part of the bigger picture. It's the big businesses spending money on each other. Remember, when Microsoft make money, NVIDIA make money, Google make money, Tesla make money, all these top businesses rotate off each other. So that's where all the money's going. So I think what we've got now is a perfect storm. We've got people who have dumped the mega caps. They've moved into the small caps. We have seen 76% of the stocks that have already declared their earnings beat on earnings. Those that are calling for a crash, for the end of the world, I've called a crash a couple of times with correction at 10%, but I'm talking about 20, 30, 40, 50%. Meet Kevin, Graham, Stepan, many others, doom and gloom, the end of the world's coming. There's no evidence to suggest that whatsoever. Now, of course, we've got macro conditions. We've got things like in the Middle East, wars and so on and so forth. But AI is a solution to those problems. We can't stop people killing each other, sadly. Wish we could. And my heart goes out to everybody that was affected yesterday in England with the very unnecessary stabbings of young children. There are some very, very sad people in the world that do very, very bad things. We can't do nothing about that. But AI can certainly solve most problems when it comes to technology, communication, and military and all that kind of other stuff, wars and so on and so forth. Also security, which we need more of these days. So I believe we are at a pivotal moment. I believe that the S&P is going to 3x by the end of the year. I can see where Tom Lee is coming from. I think I actually agree with all of that. I can see it myself. So what am I doing? Am I just saying all of this so you might subscribe to my channel? No. Am I saying it because you might give me a super chat or whatever? No. I'm not in members only now. We're publicly, we're open to everybody. No. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to say, and I'm doing it because and I'm doing it with my own money. And to prove to you what I'm doing, I'll show you what I'm doing. This is my portfolio. I started with $5,000. I'm now currently at 103,721, just under $104,000. My all-time high was 107, so we're very, very close to an all-time high because I am exclusively in the S&P, 100%. The reason for that is because the S&P is very weighted, not as much as the NASDAQ, but there's many, many great businesses in there that I want to expose you to. But more importantly than that, it's not about me. It's about not pumping and dumping stocks. I have a Meet the CEO series, and I want to be known for the guy who's honest, who shares his opinions, not based upon his own portfolio to swell my own bags, make money for myself. It's not about that. I don't need the money. I've got everything I want. I'm happy in life. I am just here to help people, all right? I want to see all of you do well yesterday, all right? I want to see you do well, and that makes me happy, right? So all of my money is in the S&P. Now, this is how bullish I am on NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is a big part of the S&P. Just a few days ago, as you can see, I've gone all in on margin. Can you see my margin there? When James, my new subscriber, disappears, there you are. See that? That's my highest margin ever. I am fully in, couldn't be more in. I'm a long way from margin call. It's not going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, 4x my money, 4 times margin, but I am all in, as you can see, in a big way. I believe this is what's going to happen. I believe NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Amazon are all priced to perfection. Google reported a good earnings, but it got sold off because it wasn't returning enough for the investors immediately. They haven't got patience, all right? NVIDIA comes at the end of the month, and we will cover it live. So join us for that. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very big night. So join us for the NVIDIA earnings when we cover that. But tonight, we're going to hear from Microsoft. Now, Microsoft have a slightly different earnings strategy, and their AI will be more readable. We'll be able to see more of where Microsoft is going. I don't care. I don't care if for some reason, and it will be a good earnings, they will make lots of money, but people might go, it's not good enough, and they'll sell it. And because of that, NVIDIA and all these things are all selling off. Now, let me say why I believe NVIDIA is being sold off. Not because it's rubbish, not because Microsoft are going to miss, not because Google didn't do great, which they did, of course, not because they're not going to do well. It's because those at the top with the most money know what I am saying right now, that NVIDIA is going to double. Now, if I can control the market, if I can manipulate the market and all I care about is myself and not my viewers and not my audience, remember, Wall Street aren't investors, they're traders. If I didn't care about anybody and I was just making money for myself, what would I do right now? I would sell all of my NVIDIA. Why? Because I've made thousands of percent, because those that have made the most money, they have been around since the beginning. If we go back, in fact, I'm not going to bother going back to NVIDIA. You've all seen it. If I was holding NVIDIA 5 years ago, I've made thousands of percent. I would dump my NVIDIA just before I know it's going to explode. Isn't that obvious? You can make the money again. Many people are saying to me, how can you be bullish on NVIDIA and tech and Microsoft and Google if everyone's moving out of it to buy rubbish? Because they're moving out to buy rubbish tells me it's good, because they're going to come back. They didn't take their money out and say, I'm done, I'm not investing anymore. They jumped into the Russell for a quick trade. They're going to dump the Russell. The Russell's going to crash like crazy, and everyone is going to move back into NVIDIA. I'm already in. I don't have to chase it. I see it doubling. I see the S&P going up by 3x. I think this is a perfect storm, a perfect moment, and that's what I think is about to happen. We're going to cover the Microsoft earnings tonight, but right now, I'm going to bring Sensei on. I've asked Sensei, he's taken time out to be here with us. Now, for those of you who don't know who Sensei is, he partners with me on the show, and he does the technical charts for you. All right? So I'm going to introduce Sensei in a second now, bring him onto the show, and he's going to do the charts for NVIDIA. Now, he may have a different opinion to me, and that's fine. He can say what he likes. Nothing is pre-scripted. We've not had a conversation. I want you to say this. I want you to back up what I'm saying. We disagree. We fall out, not in a bad way, in a nice way. But we say what we say and we discuss, and that's what it's all about. Now, if you don't agree with Sensei now, or you do agree, leave your comments in the chat, and you too can call in. And if you've got any questions now, if you want to know where the support lines are, the resistance lines, the levels of concern, ask Sensei and he will ask your questions. He will see you in the chat. So without further ado, as everyone subscribe to the channel. We're 45 minutes away from the bell going, and then we're going to go directly into the Microsoft earnings, and a lot's going to happen tonight. I'm very, very confident of that. Would you please put your hands together and welcome Sensei on to the show. Sensei, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on the show, Martyn.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come in. Just so everyone knows, I literally just text Sensei a few moments ago, literally on my phone. You can see I texted in there and said, Sensei, could you come on the show? He says, well, I'm out and about, but he's back in, he's turned his computer on, and he's here, all ready to rock and roll. So, Sensei, I've spoken enough now about my opinion on tech, NVIDIA, AI, and all the rest of it, and where I see the S&P going. I put my money where my mouth is. Clearly, I have. You can see what I've done there. I want you now to present the way you do with your charts. So I'm going to give it completely over to you right now.
Can you hear me, Martyn?
Yes, you sound fantastic now. Absolutely fantastic.
You can hear me, which is good. You can't see me, which is not as good. I am having a technical issue with the Ecamm program. I do need to update it, but I will leave that for after the show. I think what's more important is me showing you the charts, the buy levels, the sell levels, and my thoughts, if that's okay. Absolutely.
Fire away, Sensei. You've got as much time as you need.
Amazing. So, so let's look at the charts. NVIDIA. So we had the all-time highs at $140. If you remember, that was back in the 20th of June 2024, we had a very quick upswing for NVIDIA, and now we're getting our sell-off. Where do I think the sell-off is going? I think we're about done with the sell-off. I do agree with Martyn. This is just a
Yes.
rotation. This is a buying opportunity, at least the first area to be buying this stock. This is at $104 right now. We do have this main uptrending trend line. We've had two hits, one in January, the beginning of the year, and then one in April. And if you join those dots together, just like easiest thing to do, joining two dots together, you get the third touch point, which is exactly where we are now. That's one level of support, which we've slightly bounced off of. And the second level of support is coinciding with this level of support. It's just slightly under. It is a gap when the price of NVIDIA opened higher than it closed. And that's about $95. So we do have this major sort of support between $95 and $105. The average of that being $100. A lot of analysts, major analysts that study the charts and the stock are saying $100 is a very key area of support for this stock. And I agree with them. Between that $95 and the $105 is a major area of support. You can see that outlined on my chart right around here. That's the area we're at, and that's the area where the first support is. That is the main support. Yes, there are levels below. If the tech crash continues, if we do continue having a sell-off in tech, if something that Jerome Powell says, which the markets don't like, of course I wouldn't be putting all my buy levels at this price. I do have backup levels. I do have levels where I believe I can get a better bargain if the market allows that to happen. And that next buy level for me, which will be maybe a limit order in case a sudden event occurs, a terrible earnings, which I don't anticipate happening, or just a sudden bad news comes out where we have seen flash crashes happen before. I would be just setting up some limit orders around that $70 mark, where there has been previously. Again, another gap in NVIDIA's price on February the 21st. It closed at $67 and it opened at $75. If you go back and look at stocks, when there is gaps between the opening and closing price, the closing and opening price, those gaps typically close between 70 and 80% of the time. With growth stocks, it doesn't happen as often, especially with something like NVIDIA, which has been going to the upside very, very rigorously. For example, a buy price of $30, I don't think that's ever going to be filled, that gap between $30 and $37. And there has been some previously as well around the $5 mark, for example. That's never going to get filled. So it's not 100% a strategy, but more often than not, these gaps do get filled. And it's an area where you can find support. So that $95 coincides with that gap fill from 21st of May. And that's my first major buy level between $95 and $105. So I do feel confident buying in at the price we are at now. Something to back that claim up is also the RSI. You look at the RSI, the relative strength index. Analysts, traders, long-term holders use this as an area to be, as an indicator to use. You can see we are at low levels. We're not oversold yet. However, we are at levels we haven't seen since April of 2024, where we had this correction. This correction, if you remember, was a correction of about 21% move to the downside. The correction we are at now is about 27% to the downside. So quite similar. RSI is a little bit lower than we were then. And when we reached those levels, we did have a nice move to the upside. The last time before that we reached levels like this, we did have a rally which went up about 146%. So these RSI levels, even though they're not oversold technically, they are levels which are quite low for this growth stock of NVIDIA. That is on the daily time frame. If you move over to the 3-day time frame, you can see it is dropping quite low. Again, the last time we saw levels like this was when we were at $41, and then we went straight up to $97 before the next pullback. So we are at quite low levels on the RSI, sitting around 47. And then you can zoom further out to get a bit more of a long-term, mid-term perspective. The RSI on the weekly is dropping to levels again which we haven't seen since October of 2023. So the RSI, although it's not oversold, it does allow a lot of room to move back to the upside. It has been overbought in the past. It's no longer overbought now, so it does present that area where it can continue to move to the upside without it being overbought. Another thing to look at with the RSI is we did have a bit of bearish divergence on the weekly chart, and I think on the 3-day chart that just means the price of the RSI, the RSI indicator produced lower highs where the price produced higher highs, and that's a bearish signal. Hence this sort of sell-off. But now the good news is we're seeing the opposite, where we're seeing lower lows on the RSI and higher lows on the actual price. That is bullish divergence. Sell exhaustion is happening, meaning this is a very bullish indicator to use in charts, and especially when it's on the weekly and the 3-day time frame. I'll show you on the 3-day as well. You see the RSI is producing lower lows. The price is showing higher highs. This is a bullish divergence result, which normally definitely more than 50% of the time will result in the price going higher. So that is looking good for NVIDIA. We are in a nice uptrend. There's no reason to doubt the uptrend, and it is a nice let's see exactly how much the pullback is, about 27% pullback. I think it's the worst month in NVIDIA. If it closes the month like this, it's the worst month NVIDIA has had in 2 years. That stat alone will be posted all over the news, so people will be back interested in getting back into NVIDIA. They will feel like they're getting a discount, even though the price has gone up thousands of percent over the last year. People will feel like that's a nice discount, and buyers will be back in, and I guess it is a nice discount. So yeah, I'm bullish on it. It looks good from a technical perspective, and you heard Martyn, he seems to be bullish on it from a fundamental perspective as well.
Sensei, thank you very much. I'm just going to close this out to end it as a video. If you could just prepare Microsoft, that would be very useful as we're about to go into the earnings. There we go. There was Sensei on the show for you, just calling in, talking about NVIDIA. What a great chart that was. We will put this out as its own video. I'm making this during a live show, so click above my head, down below in the description for more links, and over here, further information in the series. We are very bullish now. This could be a very, very special moment for NVIDIA. I believe it is. In fact, I know it is. Everything makes sense. I've studied people now for too long to realize that this is just a manipulation, not an aggressive, scary thing, but it is manipulation nonetheless, and it's a golden moment. That's why the studio is all gold. It's not red. It is most certainly gold. All right. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.